Welcome to Tuesday. This is today's science lesson. We're going to be looking at animal classification. In other words, how to put animals into different groups. This is going to be based on pages 100 to 105. When we're done with this, you can go ahead and go to Google Classroom and find the form that's called page 105, numbers 1 through 3, and you can fill that out. All right, let's get started. So animal classification, there are perhaps as many as 9 million species of living organisms on Earth. Scientists are continually finding new organisms to name and to classify. One of the most obvious distinguishing characteristics of animals is whether or not they have backbones. With only a few exceptions, scientists can divide animals into invertebrates, which are animals without backbones, and vertebrates, those animals that have backbones. So you can see here on the left side or so, I have animals that have backbones. You can see the crocodile, the elephant, the shark, the surgeonfish, etc. On the other side, we have animals that do not have backbones, like earthworms, jellyfish, snails, flatworms, etc. So we split the animal kingdom into two different groups, vertebrates and invertebrates. Remember, once again, vertebrates have a backbone, invertebrates do not. Okay, let's move on. So let's talk about invertebrates first. These are the animals without backbones. 95% of all animals do not have backbones. 95% of all animals do not have backbones. It's a lot. You can see the other ones listed here. Centipedes, earthworms, flies, crab spiders, sea urchins, sea gooseberry. Tons and tons of different animals. Okay, let's go to a very specific animal. Let's talk about sponges. So sponges belong to the phylum called Porifera. The animals in this group, they catch their food in an unusual way. They sit on the floor of the ocean, as you can see, and they pump water through their bodies. The water goes through tiny pores or holes in the outside of the sponge. When the water flows through the sponge extracts nutrients and small organisms that it needs. Then the water is pushed out through the top of the sponge. So the food is going to come in through here and then out through the hole. And it's basically catching its food that way, like a net. Okay, let's move on. I want to show you something about a similar animal called jellyfish. Once again, these also do not have backbones. The jellyfish belong to a phylum called Cnidaria, and they use nematocysts to capture their food. These things sting their food and they cause them to become paralyzed, and that allows the jellyfish to eat their prey. Moving on to mollusks. Mollusks are animals that have soft bodies and mantles, special parts of their body that sometimes form a shell. Snails, oysters, clams, those are all mollusks. They have shells that protect their soft bodies. Some mollusks with shells are called bivalve. They have 2 shells. For example, some bivalve examples would be clams, scallops, maybe you've eaten some of these before, and oysters. These are examples of bivalve mollusks. Other mollusks are univalve. That means they only have 1 shell. A snail, for example, is a univalve. Univalve take their shells with them when they move. Some of these even have no shell, and they leave a slimy path behind, as you've probably seen. You've probably seen a slug, which is a mollusk that has no shell. Another group of mollusks is something called a cephalopod. Cephalopods have arms, tentacles, and they move through something called jet propulsion. They're speedy, they're fast. They force water through a tube in their body. These would include animals such as squids, octopuses, cuttlefish. Those are all examples of cephalopods. Now it's your turn. Look over pages 100 to 105, and then go to Google Classroom to fill out the Google form called page 105, numbers 1 through 3. Use this video as much as you need, or use the pages in the book as much as you need. Have a great day.